Japan's premier anime magazine is finally available in English.
It begins where the other anime magazines end.
Free bonus gear!
Anime, manga, games, comics, and more. To get any closer to the source,
You'd have to read Japanese. You know you want it. Come and get it.
subscribe now and have the future of anime arrive at your door month after month.
One of the most exciting events for me as a kid was going out to the mailbox and grabbing my monthly Donald Duck comic, which my mom had a subscription to. I'd spend hours admiring the delicate details of each page and thinking about just how much work was put into them. Unfortunately, I don't have any of them left as they were eventually thrown out. I'm 20 years old now, and of course I've got more important things to worry about, but sometimes I can't shake the feeling of wanting to relive a simpler time, even for just a moment. The reason I'm bringing this all up is because despite how great the internet is right now for information, I still enjoy going through my old magazines like Newtype USA and Animerica, which lets me transport myself back into that past tense and scour through each page like I did with those old comic books as a kid. It's also cool to learn about new things you otherwise may not have stumbled across while casually surfing the web. For example, did you know that Courtney Love worked on a manga? It even makes mention of a certain heart-shaped box. Now where have I heard of that before? Yeah, this seems to be an autobiography of sorts. Interesting. The writer also goes on to make this point about Princess Ai potentially reaching a new audience of people who may not have otherwise been interested in reading manga, with its ties to a real-life rock star, which is a great point. It kinda reminds me of how some people like recommending newcomers to shows such as Samurai Champloo and Ghost in the Shell, which are a bit more grounded in reality and don't have a lot of the tropes which hardcore fans come to expect. This also got me thinking of other semi-autobiographies such as Me and the Devil's Blues with Robert Johnson and Avril Lavigne's Make 5 Wishes, if anybody remembers that. It's quite surprising seeing how much variety there is. You have news about live-action films, music, figures, and upcoming video games, to name a few. Anything an otaku may enjoy. You also have these sweet manga inserts and bonus DVDs. Being able to watch the first episode of the latest shows like Razafon, 12 Kingdoms, and The Nut Shack for free, as well as seeing the incredible manga art in such high resolution, can serve as a great introduction and get you invested enough to want to check out the rest of it. Sometimes a manga will even be the focal point of the issue, like these ones of Angel Dust and Kobato, the latter of which is very near and dear to me because it would serve as my introduction to Clamp, a group that would have a profound impact on me going forward with their wonderful sense of optimism and togetherness. Seeing Kobato striving for self-improvement despite having clear problems with conveying her emotions hit very close to home for me, and that sense of connection made me interested in looking into the rest of their work. And well, they were okay. After my newfound love of Clamp, I wanted to learn more about them, not just as artists, but also as people. Lucky for me, I found several interviews with them, as well as other incredible talents. The director behind Haruhi Suzumiya deserves mention for being one of the most diverse and skillful people in the industry, with his sort of Swiss Army knife style of directing, being able to seamlessly blend comedy and drama in his shows without it ever feeling out of place.
He's the angry video game.
And his favorite anime are quite reflective of that varied skill set. Future Boy Conan, Space Battleship Yamato, and Anne of Green Gables are all quite different from one another, but it goes to show that he knows his stuff.
めちゃくちゃ怖いって評判のやつだな。
He seems especially fond of Anne, as he mentions it later when asked what kind of books he thinks Nagato would be into. That's fun. Speaking of Nagato, another fun tidbit is that the voice actress playing her is apparently the polar opposite in real life in terms of personality, being more of the active type, as she puts it.
女の子のキャラクターをやらせていただくことが多くて、雪のような本当に寡黙で、宇宙人なんですけれども、本当にああやってクールな冷静沈着なキャラクターをやったことがなかったので、ユキを演じること自体がとても自分には高いハードルで挑戦でしたね。いろいろ勉強することが多かったですね。
Like, knowing this won't make me change my views on the show itself or anything. However, it does make me feel more of an attachment to the people behind my favorite shows.
なんか生活と自分の精神的な生活も含めてを見てるとそういうのを思い出しましたね。
実際自分でも格闘技とか見てて勝ち負けに関係なくやっぱり勝負に対してすごく真摯な態度で臨む人はヒーローだなと思いますね。
僕の分身なんじゃないのかなって気がするので、カレー少女は僕の友達です。
After all, they were the ones who put all the pieces together for them to be as great as they are. Then seeing how the fans were influenced by them and what they made can be truly inspiring.
Game Boy Color.
今度は僕が大冒険。その名もハムちゃん大集合でちゅ。
今度のハム太郎はお話アドベンチャー。ハム語を覚えてハムちゃんズを探しに行こう。ハムゲームボーイカラー専用ソフト「とっとこハム太郎2」。
着せ替えもダンスもあるのだ。
Going through these old issues with modern eyes and seeing what anime would later be hugely influential or cult classics is quite a bizarre feeling. Series such as Full Metal Alchemist and Lucky Star are so synonymous with the anime fandom at this point that it kind of feels like they were always there. Imagining a world without them just wouldn't be the same. But when we did live in that time, you had other series making waves on the popularity charts. It's fascinating getting an unfiltered look at what was actually popular at the time. Plenty are still remembered and talked about, such as Gundam Seed, which was tearing up the charts all throughout its runtime. But then you have those outliers which don't quite get the same attention anymore. I'm glad to see that people at the time were enjoying Pani Pony Dash and Manabi Straight though. Great shows. Then you have some pleasant surprises like Stelvia, Kitty Grade, and Mabarajo. Well, there is an audience for everything, so I won't judge. Some things never change. Though I was kind of expecting to see Precure on here, considering how it's one of the highest grossing media franchises in Japan. Actually, come to think of it, the only time I recall seeing Precure in any of the issues I own is this one little section from a 2004 issue previewing the first season as it was airing on TV. You'd think it would get more coverage, especially with some more recent entries like Cardcaptor becoming fan favorites and introducing a lot of people to Precure. So what gives? How come it doesn't get much representation? I mean, it's huge! You know, at least in Japan. Yeah, if there's anything that breaks my heart more than anime which were forgotten over time, it's anime that never got a chance to shine in the first place. Toei have not exactly been doing a great job of distributing Precure in the West, aside from a few parts in Europe. And while Toei may mostly be known for their extensive catalog of classic shonen titles, you don't hear too much from their shoujo side in the West, aside from Sailor Moon and maybe Lucky Complex. However, their shoujo output has been arguably just as prolific as their shonen counterpart, helming a plethora of influential titles spanning back decades. Though I can't blame you if you weren't aware of them, as many of them aren't available in English or were popular in Europe.
Depuis cet étrange jeu, tu as transformé mon univers. Los prados de colores nos rodeas con tu bondad y con todo tu amor.
Perhaps shonen has more cross-gender appeal, which makes it easier to sell to a broad audience, but thanks to the internet and fan subgroups, anime is now more accessible than ever. Even if you're not into the new stuff coming out, older anime getting subtitled is finally a matter of when and not if, with plenty of obscure series finally finding that cold audience they always deserved. It's exciting, because even after completing thousands of anime, I'm still finding tons of new shows to blow my mind. So it honestly kinda bugs me when people are overly cynical or picky with what they watch. Like, I've seen some forum posts of users asking for recommendations with unreasonable expectations. Yes, I like one romance anime set in the French Revolution where the female character is taller than the guy who has the ability to turn into a cat, but he's also a Shinigami who can use magic to defeat the evil Pizzard. Oh, and no love triangles. Only to then be disappointed when that dream anime doesn't exist. Which, even if it did, it would probably come out looking like a TMNT pizza where, yeah, sure, maybe all the individual ingredients are good, but they don't necessarily work together.
Okay, let's see. I'm in the mood for a chocolate fudge, sardine, chili pepper pizza with plenty of whipped cream on top.
No, you never truly know what your next favorite is going to be, because literally anything has the potential to be great. I can turn over the page to some trashy looking fan service thing where they advertise literal dog shit and have an absolute blast watching it. Or I can turn to my friends and watch some of their favorite shows, not only to make it even so they have to put up with me talking about my weird bullshit, but also to grow closer to them. Because as much as I love anime, I don't think I would be nearly as dedicated to it as I am if I didn't have anybody to share my thoughts or cool discoveries with. It's half the reason I'm even watching anime at all. Knowing there are people out there who are willing to listen to you feels incredible. And ultimately, I think that's what this is all about. Just a bunch of passionate nerds coming together to share their thoughts and get excited about the things they love. It's enlightening and inspiring, and I'm all ears.
誰か止めてある晴れた日のこと魔法以上の愉快を限りなく望んでるやつが問題あなたよあなた明日また会うのね笑い事じゃないのよ嬉しいなら頑張ってよファイト解放してよねこんな
Megami Deluxe Volume 1 is one of the fuckest things I own. It's basically just a picture book with hot bikini babes, and for some reason the very last page is an advertisement for Serial Experiments Lane. What the fuck?